Insight from New York. Now we move on to our next news. Russia has launched a massive air assault on multiple Ukrainian cities, deploying hundreds of drones and missiles while many residents slept. Ukrainian officials report 3 people died and several are wounded, and also widespread destruction to residential buildings and civilian infrastructure. Ukraine's air defenses scrambled in to intercept the barrage, but not all missile projectiles were stopped. In response, Kyiv has called for much stronger international pressure, further sanctions targeting Russian energy, transport, financial, and shadow networks, as well as intensified military support for Ukraine's defense. This latest strike fits into a pattern of escalating aerial warfare in the conflict, with Russia increasingly relying on large drone and missile swarms, shifting tactics to targets not just frontline zones, but urban and energy infrastructures deep inside of Ukraine. Meanwhile, according to flight tracking service Flight Radar 24, Poland has closed its airspace near its southeastern cities of Lublin and Rzeszów until at least 4 GMT today, due to unplanned military activity related to ensuring state security. Now, for this discussion, we're joined by Glenn Grant. He's an ex-advisor to Ukrainian Defense Minister, joins us live from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Glenn, for joining us. Good to see you. Now, with Ukraine calling for stronger international sanctions and more military support, how are European nations balancing their support for Ukraine with concerns over escalating tensions with Russia in their own airspace as well?
Well, first thing, before talking about that, I have to just mention the fact that your foreign minister in India talks about his stance against terrorism, but Indian troops were on the last Russian exercise, which hardly sends a good message that here we are, we want to support things, but we're going to support Russia against Ukraine, which is not exactly a good way of going into the world. Now, the Europeans are stepping up, and as you know, that the UK has actually sent aircraft to Poland to guard against drones. And there are discussions about whether the Europeans should actually attack drones inside of Ukraine, or whether they should wait until they actually exit Ukraine into Polish airspace. On the other flank, with the Baltic states, then there is an increase in defence, in that Turkey has sent one of its AWACS, one of its air surveillance planes, which is now flying up and down the border to watch what's happening, to try and identify if drones are coming out of Russia, or if they're coming off ships into Denmark, Sweden, and the Baltic states. So there's a lot going on at the moment, but the main aim of Russia, of course, is to distract from the war in Ukraine. And you can hear that almost in Lavrov's words about talking about, we don't want to fight NATO, we don't want to do anything else. They want to pull troops, they want to pull activity and money away from supporting Ukraine.
Glenn, thank you. I cannot comment on what India's role is in this, but India does what is beneficial to protect Indian citizens. And also looking at Russia, looking at US, what do you think US's role is in navigating or negotiating peace between Ukraine and Russia now?
I think it stays exactly the same as it's been for the last couple of years, which is to support Russia and to try and delay supporting Ukraine, which is what they've been doing. So even when Trump says, hey, Ukraine can take back its lands and everything else, all he's doing is passing the buck away from the United States into Europe and to Ukraine itself, so that at some stage he could say, well, we tried, we did our best, we gave them the chance, but they didn't take it. Because the support from US, there is support from US, yes, but remember that Trump has to do something, because there are still a lot of Republicans who support Ukraine very strongly. So Trump has got to keep his own side happy. So he's balancing out keeping his own side happy with supporting Russia. And those two things mean that the loser actually is Ukraine.
Guest Glenn Grant for joining us and sharing that insight all the way from Kyiv. Now we move on. In a major development, U.S. President Donald Trump has